This is a huge transition. I mean, going from one step where you pretty much had control and made the decisions, and to another step where you have almost no control and have no idea what the decisions even are.
Well, the summer before our son went, he being the older one, we were all looking at how this would be an adjustment as a family, not just for him or for just us, and it would be an adjustment for everybody.
Well, I was really excited for her, and of course hoping that everything would go super well. But I worried a lot too about things like adjusting to the dorm and fitting in.
First of all, I was concerned about had I taught them enough so that they could be independent adults and go off and make good choices. And that really, so I was going through my mind with a checklist, checking everything off. Had I done this, this, and this, so that they would be prepared.
And the closer it got, the more I realized that perhaps I wasn't going to be so fine when he went off to college, and that was less about him than me.
I think both for my wife and me, when you spend that busy day unloading their things into their dorm room and then you leave, there's a real quiet feeling. But you know, for us, I think for most parents it was really a great moment too, to think, you know what, they're doing well, we feel like they're equipped to succeed academically, to make good choices with solid values. So it was also a pretty great feeling to see them take that first step toward adulthood.
Certainly that moment when you hear the door close behind you after you've carried the last box in, and you've caught your breath, and you've sat there with them for a few minutes, and there's been that awkward, well, what do we do now? There's always that awkward time that you know you've been anticipating, that you know that that's what that day is about. I shook his hand, Mom hugged him and cried, and we walked out hand in hand.
I was wondering if it would be like the first day that they go off to kindergarten, and Mom cries, and it depends on what their reaction is going to be. Of course, I cried, and not surprisingly, I thought that might be the reaction that I would have.
I knew I'd be different. I always knew that I would be different, you know, that I had worked here and I was used to this and everything would be fine, and sort of made fun of it to the international students. And then we took him to college, and there I was in the room making the bed and putting the towels up pretty, and you know, arranging his toiletries, and many of which are still in the drawer when he came home that I put them when we dropped him off. And my husband came in, he said, "It's time to go." I'm like, I'm not ready to go. I'm just not ready to go. And he's like, "I'll be in the hallway." So pretty soon I looked out in the hallway, he's like, "We're leaving now." And I'm hugging Connor, and I'm leaving, and I'm in the car, and I'm just sobbing, you know, just like everybody else, off and on all day. And it took me several weeks to really adjust to that. But yeah, I'm no different than anybody else.
I remember vividly my dad taking me to college 40 years ago, and I've got a prop here. This is actually the letter that he left for me when he dropped me off at my dorm at a little bitty liberal arts college in Iowa. And he says here, I'm not going to read it all, but I was thinking coming home the other night, this was written a week later, that it seems just like yesterday that Grandpa and Grandma took Bill and I, that's his brother, to Columbia, Missouri in 1946, and here I was on the way home from taking you to college. And he goes on to say, someday you'll have a son that you can take to college. And I could have dreamed of that was really possible in 1972, but I've always kept this letter, and when I took my kids to college, I had my own letter for them, and I also gave them a copy of this letter.
Well, at first there was a little bit of a void, because you're so used to being on the go and involved in all of their activities.
Yeah, with a senior in high school and all their activities.
And so all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can actually breathe. I've got time to think. And so it was just kind of that getting used to finding other things to fill my time and make it feel like that it was productive and worthwhile.
I'm a single mom and it's just the two of us, so without another person there, the house was really empty. And you don't realize how much that is your life, the center of your life, taking care of your child, no matter what age they are. And so that was, I found myself lonely and kind of like, whoa, what do I do? But then it kind of flipped because I kind of did prepare myself. Hey, I can fix what I want to eat. I can do this. I can do that, and it's okay. So it was a good thing and kind of a sad thing at the same time. But now I've adjusted to when she comes back and you sort of flip back to another routine. But when she's gone, I'm okay. I did feel it. Yeah, I just felt this empty house and all I had was 3 cats and I thought, oh, this is sad. This is so sad. But now I see it differently.
Even though the experiences are 25 years apart, it's the same one. They have the same concepts and ideas that are, this is their time, it's happy-go-lucky, they've got friends, it's a whole new experience, they're just happy with it. I remember my mother going home for Christmas break and my mother asking me all of these questions and me thinking, hey, it's fine, it's good, and the look on my mother's face and just thinking, oh, she's so uptight. And now I'm the mother. Yeah, and I'm thinking, did you think about this? Did you do that? And everything's fine, Mom, it's great, it's good, The whole attitude of college, I think, is the same.
There's a lot that really, mirrors what we went through. The college, the dorm life, all of that. That all looks very, very much like it did when we went to college.
Well, I think it's that what hasn't changed is it's all of a sudden we have freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We can make our own choices. We can sleep as late as we want to in the morning. We can stay up as late as we want to at night. We can create our own schedules, and we don't have anyone telling us how we need to do that or should be doing that.
One of the most important things to learn, I think, as a parent of a young adult is that you are further removed from those decisions. And even when a decision is made that isn't necessarily a bad decision, but simply a decision not one that you would have necessarily made, you still need to find a way to support it and help make that happen because they are defining their own personhood.
One day he called me. He's like, Mom, I am going to drop this class, this Calculus 2 class. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to change my major. I don't want to have a major where when I go to work I'm going to have to do this calculus every day. And I'm like, okay. And there was long silence. He's like, well, this, that, and the other. He's just going on and on. I'm like, okay. And he just doesn't know what to say. And I said, I didn't choose your major and I didn't enroll you in this class. That's between you and your advisor. So if you choose not to do that, that's fine. The only thing I would be unhappy about is if you did that before you talked to your resources.
She is doing it on her own, regardless of whether I agree or disagree with every decision. She's doing it, and I'm not. And that's a good thing.
Every now and then I slip back into the mother thing, like, you should do this and I think you should do that, but I word it a lot more carefully now, so so she hears it the right way.
I still see that 5-year-old that you say, now don't go anywhere, and I'm going to let you walk down there, but now don't go anywhere, don't talk to anybody, don't do those things. And at 18, just like they did when they were 5, they will give you a look and say, Mom, I'm going to be okay. But you have to trust that they will be, that ultimately they will be.
You spent 18 years raising them, and you've been working toward that moment, and it's time to let them go.
Well, they definitely matured, you know, as they went through the 4 years at Truman, and they started having more clear ideas as to what they were going to do next. So it wasn't so much. I mean, they would still seek advice and things like that, but they definitely started having their own ideas towards what they were wanting to accomplish.
Definitely it became a relationship that was less childlike and more adult-like, maybe more of a friendship.
I told somebody recently, yes, I cried when I dropped him off to school, and now I'm crying because he moved home.
Somewhere around December, when they come home for that month and they drop all of their junk in the middle of the floor, you think, you know, this thing of her being on campus somewhere isn't half bad. I mean, it's sort of like, you know, she's taking care of herself. I mean, that's a thing that you miss, but that's also something to enjoy.
Oh, and we also have a social life that we didn't have before. I mean, they were our social life. Their social life was our social life. And so we now have a social life that they've also picked up on, and they're like, but you go out to eat once in a while.
Yeah. We're having too
And-
much fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. You're having too much fun. And we're like, well, good. It's about time.
Well, at orientation last year, I remember I saw this video and almost cried. And I